The air inside the ancient cavern shimmered like it held its breath for a century. The walls glowed with blue crystals, humming faintly like they were listening. And in the very center, kneeling in the sand, was her .cy alien goddess, dangerously attractive intergalactic troublemaker. To be determined, but she was definitely not from around here. Her deep violet skin shimmered under the cave light. Golden markings glowing faintly along her shoulders, arms, and collarbone as if someone had gently painted lightning along her skin. Her hair fell in mesmerizing waves, and her outfit, let's just say no space fabric had ever worked harder in its life. She kneeled calmly, her gaze fixed forward, unblinking, like she'd been waiting for someone for a very long time. Enter Ryland Dracker, galaxy traveler, part-time treasure hunter, part-time sarcastic disappointment, full-time I definitely wasn't ready for this. He walked in with a small metal detector-looking gadget in one hand, and his misplaced confidence in the other. He had that rugged explorer vibe, like someone who packs protein bars and emotional baggage when traveling. Okay, he muttered to himself, not creepy at all. Just a glowing cave with whispering crystals, and maybe possibly a demon space queen kneeling in sand. Great vacation idea, Ryland. Fantastic. He stepped forward. The air buzzed. He looked at the kneeling figure. She looked back, and holy cosmic moon cheese her eyes. They weren't just eyes. They were galaxies. Like actual swirling galaxies, deep and glowing, and staring right into his soul. And possibly his questionable life choices. He swallowed. She blinked. He panicked. Hi, I'm not here to steal any space, jewelry, or touch dangerous cursed objects. Unless they're really shiny, or valuable, or both. Silence. Then, in a voice smoother than melted stardust, she said, "You came." Ryland blinked. I mean, yeah, but let's not make it weird. She tilted her head, curious. You have a strange way of speaking. It's called anxiety. She took a silent breath, and then spoke the very words carved on the cryptic crystal tablet he'd found months earlier. Free me, she whispered, and the night is yours. A gentle wind seemed to swirl. Dramatic, but totally cave-approved. Ryland tried to stay cool. Okay, that's very poetic. But let me ask, free you from what? And by night, do you mean, like, actual nighttime, or metaphoric night, or romantic night? Her lips curved, faintly smirking. The kind of night that answers questions you have never dared to ask. Oh, he blinked. So like, the premium subscription of night. She blinked again. You speak confusion. Yes, he said, I get that a lot. She stood, slowly, elegantly. The faint chains around her wrists glowed, floating like light instead of metal. They didn't look like chains. They looked like promises. Old ones, dangerous ones. He couldn't help but stare. She noticed, do your eyes always wander? She said softly, or only when faced with ancient cosmic enchantment. He opened his mouth, paused, Hass. She gave him a look, the kind of look that was 50% teasing and 50%, I can read your thoughts, but I'm choosing not to because they're embarrassing. He stepped closer. So, you've been here for a while, huh? 112 years, wow, that's like 4 boyfriends. She blinked. I do not know what a boyfriend is, but if it's related to romance, the last one I had was swallowed by a wormhole. Oh, he scratched his neck. I've had breakups too. She nodded sympathetically. Were they swallowed by Noah, emotionally, yes. She studied him for a moment. You joke a lot. It disguises something. He stared at her, surprised. What do you think it disguises? She looked at him with eyes that glowed softly. Loneliness. He breathed out soft, stunned. Silence sat gently between them, not awkward, just understanding. For a brief moment, there was no treasure, no mission, no galaxy, just a kneeling alien girl with starry eyes, and a human who forgot how to breathe. Then she said casually, also, you are staring at my chest again. He jumped. What no eye was at was a cosmic glance. Out of scientific respectful curiosity, she lifted a brow. A single, perfectly elegant alien brow. He coughed. Anyway, this freeing thing. What do I do? She smiled slowly. Touch the chain. He froze. Touch it. Like just touch it. Yes, that's it. Yes. No explosions. No lasers. No ancient courses. No cosmic STD. She blinked. Hey, what? Never mind. He reached out, hesitating. He had absolutely no idea what he was doing, but every part of him, logic, intuition, curiosity, and something like longing, all pulled him closer. His fingers brushed the glowing chain. Flash. The cave gasped. The ground trembled. The chains flickered, then melted into golden light, swirling up into the air like butterflies forged from stardust. She gasped, touching her hands no longer bound. For the first time in 100 years, she was free. She looked at her hands, then at him, then at her hands again, then at him again, then whispered, you touched me. He blinked. I mean this, but like an ancient magic chain kind of way. You freed me. Guess I did. She looked at him, eyes soft, voice barely a whisper. The night is yours. He smiled nervously. So like pillow talk or intergalactic prophecy. Her lips curved. We shall see. The cave lights dimmed. Strange, Melodic echoes filled the chamber. Blue crystals sparked like fireflies waking from a dream. She stood closer, so close he could hear her heartbeat. Yes, aliens have heartbeats. Apparently he whispered, so, what now? She smiled, mischievously, a little playful, a little dangerous. Now, she whispered, we run, before the guardians of time realize I am unchained. Like cosmic security guards, yes, she nodded seriously, but very dramatic, lots of capes, too many speeches. He took a breath. She held out her hand. He stared at Vent. She offered. He smiled. Tired of being lonely, he said softly. They ran, and somewhere, deep in the dark caves, ancient eyes began to open. The cave pulsed like a living heartbeat, as though it knew something ancient had just shifted. Rylan and Ziria ran down the winding tunnels, their footsteps echoing on glittering sands and bioluminescent stones. Ziria moved with grace, like she'd been born to dance through gravity. Rylan moved like a human, trying to look cool, while very much not knowing how to look cool. Are you sure they're coming? Rylan whispered, trying not to trip over a glowing rock. They felt it, Ziria said breathlessly. Looking ahead, the moment the chains broke, they knew. They always know. Great, Rylan muttered. And who exactly are they? Please say friendly space bunnies. She glanced at him. Timekeepers. So, space police. Worse, she said. Time police, they don't just arrest you. They arrest your existence. He blinked. That sounds philosophically violent. She nodded calmly. They reached the end of a narrow tunnel that opened into a vast inner cavern, brighter, and strangely peaceful. The ceiling sparkled with swirling constellations, like a live night sky, despite being underground. Rylan looked up. Okay, not gonna lie, this is way cooler than Tinder. He looked at Ziria, expecting confusion. Instead, she smirked. Tinder, an Earth device for finding temporary companionship. I studied it. He blinked. You know about Tinder? She stopped walking, turned, and looked at him seriously. I know many things about human relationships. I just don't understand why humans pretend to be so casual when what they want, she stepped closer, is something real. Silence. Rylan swallowed. Well, we do like options, he muttered. Her gaze deepened. Or maybe you fear choosing. Okay, well, that felt like therapy, but with prettier lighting. She tilted her head. Do you fear choosing? Rylan? He opened his mouth, paused. Can we maybe do this conversation not while fugitives? She smiled, amused. You deflect when things become intimate. I do. Yes, I do. Great observation. Let's run now. But instead of running further into the cave, she knelt in the sand. He hesitated. Are we? Because on the run usually means running. She didn't look up. Sit. Wow. Okay, you sound like my high school math teacher. Sit. He sat. She closed her eyes. Palms rested gently on the ground. Fingers splayed across the sand, and then she began to hum. It wasn't singing exactly, it was vibrating. The cave floor, the sand, the crystals. The entire chamber responded, like the cave was waking up. What are you doing? He whispered, opening a door. Oh. He nodded, impressed. See, I was thinking this was a meditation moment, maybe some yoga. I was emotionally prepared for stretching. She didn't open her eyes. You can stretch when we're not being chased by multidimensional enforcers of time relativity. That was very specific, yes. She stopped humming, stared. Nothing changed. Then, the sand in front of them parted like water. Glowing oval doorway emerged, framed by floating golden rings, symbols orbiting it like tiny planets. He stared. That's a door. Yes, that's a sand door. Yes, a sand time door. Yes, that's ridiculously cool. Yes. She stood. We have 11 minutes before the keepers arrive. So where does this door lead? Just so I know if I should emotionally prepare for death, teleportation, or awkward family reunion. She turned to him. Do you trust me? He froze. That escalated fast. She stepped closer. Do you trust me? Her voice was soft, but there was something fragile in it. Something vulnerable. Something that made his racing thoughts quiet down. Not because he understood, but because he wanted to. I don't know why, he whispered. But yeah, I kinda do. She smiled, not like earlier. This one was real. The kind that made warm things in his chest wake up. She offered her hand. He took it. They stepped through the door, and the universe blinked. They emerged into something. That wasn't a cave anymore. They were on a floating cliff suspended somewhere between sky and stars. Not space, not Earth, not any place Rylan knew. The ground shimmered. Sky curved like a ribbon of galaxies. Floating orbs drifted, whispering soft sounds like laughter. It was breathtaking. It's beautiful, he whispered. She watched him. Not the stars. Yes, she said softly. It is. He looked at her. Why are you looking at me when the view looks like NASA fell into a dream? She didn't smile, but her eyes did. You've seen these skies. I haven't. He blinked. Wait, you've never seen stars before. She shook her head. I was chained underground before I learned how to speak. Before I knew the universe had color. He stared. And suddenly he didn't feel like joking. He looked at her differently now. Not like mysterious alien beauty, but like someone unbelievably strong, someone lonely, a girl who had never seen stars. He didn't say anything. Instead, he just stepped closer and softly said, "They're beautiful, but they're just background. The real magic isn't light." He looked into her galaxy eyes. "It's how we see it." She held his gaze for a moment too long. Then he panicked and added nervously, "Also, sometimes stars explode. So, not perfect." She blinked. Then she laughed. Really laughed. Not politely, not softly. An actual laugh. Like she didn't know laughter was allowed until now. Rylan smiled wide. He liked that sound more than he should. But before he could embarrass himself further, he heard it. A shimmer. A pulse. Like wind chimes on cosmic oxygen. Ziria stiffened. "They're here. Already." She turned, face serious. "Time is complicated. They don't run late." The sky rippled behind them. And then they appeared. 3 figures, cloaked in swirling robes that changed colors like mood rings on caffeine. Their faces were covered, but their eyes glowed with pure luminous white. One stepped forward. Its voice was multiple voices at once. "Ziria of Et, you were bound by the covenant. How are you unchained?" Ziria stepped forward, chin high. Rylan had never seen her look so fierce. "I freed myself." As Rylan gulped, the keeper looked at him. Rylan smiled nervously. "Hi. An accident. Technically, human," the keeper said. "Not significant. Rude. You interfered with the cycle. I really didn't mean you touched the chain of eternity." Rylan froze. "Okay, that part. Yes. Do you have any comprehension of what you have done?" Rylan looked at Ziria. Then looked at the keepers, and blurted out possibly the worst possible thing. I thought it was decorative." Ziria closed her eyes like she was praying. The timekeepers stared in disappointment. Not anger. Disappointment. Much worse. But before they could speak again, Ziria stepped between them and Rylan. "He touched it because I let him," she said. "Because I asked him. It was my will, not his crime." Rylan blinked. One of the robed figures tilted its head. "Why would you choose to be unbound?" Ziria looked straight at them. "I wanted to feel something that wasn't just waiting." Silence. Galaxies held their breath. Her voice softened, and for one moment, she glanced at Rylan. He felt something tighten in his chest. The keepers watched Hera for a long, quiet moment. "We cannot allow you to re-enter the timeline unbound," one said. "You do not have the right to choose love." Another echoed. Rylan blinked. "Whoa. No one said we did not. That I don't. She's amazing and all, but like I barely we're still in the emotional appetizer stage." Ziria looked at him. His soul. "Shut up." The main keeper stepped forward. "You want to be free? Then prove you are more than a consequence of a human's touch." Rylan muttered. That sounded weirdly flirtatious. The keeper ignored him. Ziria nodded. "I will prove it." The keeper raised their hand. "You will face the mirror field." She stiffened. "What?" Rylan whispered. "Is that?" She swallowed. "It shows who you truly are." Her voice grew shaky. "And everything you fear you might be." He stared. "That sounds awful." She nodded. "It is." He stood up. "Then I'm going with you." One keeper turned sharply. "You cannot. You are mortal." He swallowed hard, but didn't back down. "I may not be a space goddess, but I'm pretty good at emotionally panicking while being supportive." Ziria looked at him, surprised, moved. Then she whispered something that sounded like courage stitched with relief. "Him come." The keepers hesitated. Then, for reasons neither human nor alien understood, they allowed it. And just like that, the stars began to fold around them. The floating world melted into light. Mirrorfield awakened. And somewhere, deep in time and heart, Ziria whispered this time, "I don't face it alone." The world shifted like a curtain of stars being peeled away. Rylan blinked. Then blinked again. Because apparently, blinking twice does absolutely nothing in alternate cosmic dimensions. Light folded and danced, forming shapes, mirrors, panels, windows floating in midair, arranged in swirling patterns. Each mirror shimmered like liquid silver, yet reflected nothing. Until they did. "This," Ziria whispered, "is the mirror field." Rylan nodded, staring around. "Right? Not intimidating at all. Just a casual interdimensional therapy room with floating emotional trap screens." Ziria didn't smile. She seemed tense, too tense, like someone bracing for pain she's seen before. He lowered his voice. "What do we do?" She looked at him, eyes glowing faintly. "The mirrors show you what you fear, what you hide, what you pretend not to be." She paused. "Most people run." Rylan looked around at 30 floating mirrors. "And we're not supposed to do that." She took a breath. "Not if you want the truth." He nodded. "Truth is overrated, but okay." The keepers had vanished. No glowing eyes. No swirling robes. Just them. Floating mirrors. In a world painted in quiet starlight. One mirror drifted toward Ziria. Slow, almost gentle. She stood still, her shoulders tense, not like a warrior facing battle, but like a girl preparing to look at herself. Rylan stepped closer, starting to reach for her hand, but she didn't take it. She stepped forward alone. The mirror flickered, and then it showed her. Not CY alien prisoner. Not CY mysterious free -1. but a child, small, scared, chained, in a dark chamber, crying not loud just quietly, like she was afraid to be heard. Rylan felt something punch his chest. Ziria stared at the mirror child. The mirror child stared back. I remember, Ziria whispered. The first chain was not on my hands. It was here. She touched her heart. She did not cry. She did not flinch. She just looked. Really looked. The child stopped crying. Rylan didn't say anything. He understood. Sometimes, you don't rescue someone from their past. You just stand beside them. While they face it, the mirror gently drifted away. Another one appeared. Ziria braced herself, but this time, it didn't show her. It showed him. Rylan. Standing alone. Older. Not sad. Not broken. Just alone. He wore a smile. A practiced one. The kind that says, I'm fine, while something deep inside whispers, I'm not. But he looked peaceful. Not happy. Not in pain. Just used to loneliness. Ziria watched the reflection. Not him, the reflection. Then softly, she said, humans fear very quietly. He exhaled. He didn't realize he'd been holding his breath. Yeah, he said softly. We don't like admitting we need people. Ziria looked at him. Eyes deep, voice gentle. You didn't come to free an alien, did you? He swallowed. No. Silence. Then she asked. Then why did you come? He laughed softly, but not sad. Don't know. Maybe loneliness isn't supposed to be comfortable, but sometimes it becomes familiar. She nodded. Like chains. He looked at her. Really looked. Are mine chains too? She didn't smile. She didn't look away. Yes, she whispered. Just softer. The mirror drifted away. A third mirror came. It didn't show past. It didn't show fear. It showed possibility. Rylan and HFY together. Standing side by side, facing something. Unclear. But together, it wasn't romantic. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't some cosmic prophecy. It was just two people choosing not to be alone. Ziria didn't move. Neither did Rylan, until he realized she was shaken. Just a little. He turned to her. You okay? Yes, she whispered. No, she whispered. Yes, she whispered. Again. He stepped closer. She froze. He stopped. May I? She blinked. May you what? Be here. She didn't answer with words. She just stepped closer. And in that almost not native touch, distanced their chains. Fears, loneliness did something strange. They loosened, not gone, not magically healed. Just lighter. Ziria whispered, almost embarrassed. You feel safe. Rylan whispered, equally embarrassed. You feel like Wi-Fi after a long flight. She frowned. Is that a good thing? Absolutely. They stood there. Soft silence. No forced jokes. No dramatic tension. Just two people existing comfortably in the same moment. Floating reflections gently faded. Then the mirror field rippled. A voice echoed. You have seen the truth. The keepers appeared. Again. Watching. Ziria straightened. Not afraid. Not angry. Just quietly strong. You cannot bind me again, she said, voice steady. The keepers watched her. You are still dangerous. I am. She agreed. You are still unknown. I am. Are still capable of pain. I am silence. Then she said, but now I am not alone. The keepers turned to Rylan. He raised a hand and waved awkwardly. Hi. Yes, emotional support human at your service. For a second, a literal second, he could swear one of the keepers almost smiled. Then the oldest one spoke. Then we will not chain you. Ziria breathed. Slow, disbelieving. Free. But, said the keeper, freedom has a cost. Rylan muttered. Of course it does. The keeper raised their hand. Light spun between them. A symbol, a mark, a glowing scar of time woven between two names. Ziria of Ataxeth, said the keeper. You are now tethered. Rylan blinked. Tethered like Wi-Fi tethered. Phone hotspot. Tag team wrestling. Ziria whispered. It means. She turned to him. Eyes wide. It means we are connected. He blinked. Emotionally, yes. Spiritually, yes. Magically, yes. No, he exhaled. Okay, that one would have been awesome. The keeper spoke again. Your destinies are now linked. If one falls, the other will feel it. Ziria stared at Rylan. Rylan blinked. Wait, what? The keeper nodded. Your bond is now cosmic. Rylan turned to Ziria. We're bonded. She nodded, stunned. Cosmically, soulic romance style. She hesitated. I don't know. Friendship. Maybe. Destiny soul pairing. Intergalactic super coupling. That sounds dramatic. Yes. But does it feel correct? She paused, then softly, with the faintest smile. Yes. Rylan froze. Then grinned. Maybe a bit too much. So, where you? She smacked his arm. Stop. You like that idea? Stop. Cosmic honeymoon. She glared, but blushing. This is serious. Yes, it is, and dangerous. Yes, everything could change. Yes, she looked at him. He looked at her. Silence. Then, he smiled gently. Well, then, let's change everything. She blinked. He held out his hand. Not because fate bound us, he said softly, but because I choose you. Her heart did that quiet lightning thing. She took his hand. Then let us choose, she whispered, to run toward life, this time not away from it. The mirror field faded. Reality gently knitted itself back. The stars folded around them, and finally they were standing in a calm, quiet valley under a real sky. Soft, peaceful, safe. For now, Ziria whispered. So, what now? Rylan smiled thoughtfully. Well, traditionally, when two people are cosmically tethered by time gods, they get snacks, unpack emotional trauma, and possibly flirt awkwardly while pretending not to. She tilted her head. Is that a human ritual? Absolutely. Step 1, get food. Step 2, feel things and panic. And step 3, he smirked. Repeat step 2 until both people stop running from what's actually happening. She blinked, then smiled. Let us begin. They walked into the night, not bound, not alone, but choice, and somewhere, unseen. The timekeepers watched. One whispered, the universe just tilted. The others nodded. Good. The moon hung impossibly low in the alien sky, glowing like liquid silver, as if someone had dipped their fingers in stardust and smeared the universe with soft light. Ziria sat on a smooth stone near a small stream, her bare feet touching the water, watching its ripples react to her presence. The water didn't just move, it shimmered, humming like it was pleased to be near her. Watched from a distance, he wasn't staring because he was a man with eyes, he was staring because he was a man with feelings. That was much worse. He walked over slowly, dramatically pretending he hadn't been staring for 10 full minutes. You know, he said, sitting beside her, normal water does not flirt back when people touch it. She glanced at the rippling stream. It is not flirting, it is responding. That's worse, he muttered. Water respects you more than people do me. She turned to him, eyes soft, a smile forming. She liked sitting with him. It wasn't comfortable because he was human, it was comfortable because he made her feel less alien. He sat quietly beside her. No jokes, no awkwardness, just silence. Calm, real. Finally, she spoke. This is where I was supposed to go, if I was ever free. A river, he asked. She shook her head gently. Not a river, a place where things grow. She dipped her hand into the water, and grass bloomed. Soft, green, alive. Rylan, single quotes, eyes widened. You can make things grow. No, she said quietly, I can choose to. He tilted his head. What do you mean? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she moved her palm over the water. A flower emerged, glowing faintly, like a living star. She picked it, then looked at him. When I was chained, nothing bloomed, inside or outside. She placed the flower gently in his hand, but now, maybe something can. He stared at the flower, then at her. Harder to look at her than any mirror. Much harder. He spoke very softly. You're not talking about plants, are you? She looked at him. Neither smiled, neither looked away. No, the night air shifted. No longer cold, no longer scared. Something else, something new. He swallowed. She looked down. You are my tether, not my chain. That sounds beautiful and terrifying. It is, she whispered. They didn't need to explain more. The universe had already understood. Later that night, they made a fire. Well, technically Ziria made a fire, by blinking. Like a cosmic lighter, Rylan sat across from her, hands around a warm mug of alien tea that tasted like hot vanilla and memories. So, he said thoughtfully, I've been thinking. Oh no, Ziria muttered. Human thinking is dangerous. Accurate, he admitted, but still I've been thinking about this tether thing. She raised a brow. Do you wish to get rid of it? He paused, then said honestly, no. Ziria blinked. Heart did something weird. Very weird. You don't? No, I mean sure. I panic emotionally every time I feel feelings, but this doesn't feel like something I want to run from. She looked straight at him. And what does it feel like? He hesitated, looked at his mug, looked at the sky, looked at her. Then said like the first thing in a long time, that's actually real. Silence. Then something happened. Something rare. Ziria looked away first. She stood, brushing off her clothes, though dust never actually stayed on her. Come, she said softly. Where? She didn't answer. She just held out her hand. Not as a test, not as a ritual, just an invitation. He took it. She led him to a hill where the ground glowed under their feet, soft dim, not bright under their presence, just calmly alive. They stood at the top. The stars above them rearranged themselves, deliberately forming constellations he didn't recognize. She watched them like she'd seen them only in dreams. Stars, remember, she whispered. Remember what? Who you were, she said, before the world told you who to be. He looked at her, she looked at him. I wasn't always quiet, she said softly. He smiled faintly. You quiet? I was bright, she whispered. Like this, I would laugh. I would love. He didn't breathe. But, she continued, someone told me I was not meant to shine. I was meant to obey. So I did. Rylan clenched his jaw. She shook her head. The chains didn't hurt because they tied my hands. They hurt because they convinced my heart. Then it wanted to stay. He stepped closer. Not too close, but close enough. You're not that girl anymore, he whispered. She looked at him, eyes glossy. Soft. Unarmored. I think, she said faintly. I could be. He took a breath. Heart loud. chest tight, voice shaking. Could you, maybe, be bright with me? She didn't answer. She stepped forward, just a little, and then she rested her forehead gently against his. Not a kiss, not passion, something almost more intimate. Whispered, I don't know how to love softly. He whispered back, I don't want soft. She breathed out, I don't know how to be. Careful. He smiled a little. Maybe don't be. Closed her eyes. I cannot promise to not break things. He gently touched her hand. Maybe some things need breaking. Silence, a different kind. Alive, not lonely, not empty, not afraid, just possible. She whispered against his skin, I do not want to be alone anymore. He whispered back, you're not. And the stars above them moved, realigning, almost blessing. She slowly pulled back. I still don't understand humans, she said softly. He smiled. We're confusing, emotional, terrible at communication, prone to panic. Hugging, absolutely. She blinked. He waited. She hesitated. She slowly, awkwardly, adorably, wrapped her arms around him. Not elegant, not perfect, just real. He hugged back, and she whispered like a secret she was scared to admit that felt okay. He smiled. Yes. Want to do it again? She nodded softly. Yes. So she did. They stood like that for a while. Warm, quiet, untangled, unchained, but tethered. And it did not feel like prison. It felt like freedom. Later that night, Rylan lay on the grass, watching stars rearrange themselves. Ziria lay beside him, not touching but close enough. He whispered, so, what now? She thought for a moment. The night, she whispered, is ours. He turned to look at her, like you said. Yes, he smiled. And, are you free now? She didn't answer immediately. She reached out, slowly, touched his hand, fingers grazing fingers, not fully holding, just lightly tethered. I think, she whispered, this is the beginning of freedom. Silence. Only starlight speaking. Then he said, softly, can I stay in your freedom? She turned her head to look at him. Smile, faint, beautiful, and she whispered, in yours. The stars above formed a single line, a message, a promise, a beginning, and somewhere far beyond. The timekeepers watched, but did not interfere. This time, they smiled, because some chains are meant to break, so something better can be chosen. Free me, and the night is yours, she had once whispered, but now she smiled, eyes soft, heart unbound. Stay with me, and the night is ours.